this is not about animals at all, but it kind of relates to the channel and certainly me. I have mentioned just like randomly passing in videos that I have Tourette's. And a few people were curious about it, wanted some more details. I have no problem sharing anything that I know about it, which frankly isn't a whole lot, to be honest, because I knew I was going to be doing this video eventually. The last few videos that I made, tried to remember to cut and save any moments where I had tics, because I don't mind laughing at myself. So I clipped them all and saved them, and we're going to have a fun little compilation of Tourette's tics. I guess first I want to explain how it's kind of relevant to the channel. I've had people make silly remarks about how often in some videos I cut and remove moments, I guess. Even my mom has commented on how choppy some of my videos feel. The reason that I do that is primarily because of the tics. For whatever reason, when I'm filming, that's one of the things that tends to bring it out in me. It's a neurological disease. There are some ways that people have found to potentially control the tics to some degree. I know there is brain surgery that you can do for really severe cases, and there is medication that can kind of dull your nervous system. For some people it works, where it causes the signals that are creating the tics to just be dulled or lessened. For me personally, I took it for 2 days and it created a completely different kind of tic in me that was like breathing related and quite dangerous, honestly. So we just continued that. So I don't take any kind of medication for it. I've tried CBD oil. I've heard people say that that helps. It does a bit. I would have to basically have a supply of CBD oil on me at all times because it doesn't have like a long lasting effect. But if I'm in the middle of a really bad episode and I take it, it does tend to help. The things that trigger tics can be different for everybody. Speaking about myself personally, I know exactly most of the time what is causing tics. The number one thing would be stress. Also, when I am set on a task, which seems like a very general scenario, I guess, and it is. So that's why I have them so frequently. It can be anything from sitting down to film, telling a story. If I have a specific long story I'm trying to get out, normally it is interrupted the entire time with tics. Doing my hair, brushing my teeth, doing crafts. If I'm about to embark on any kind of task, normally it starts up. If I am tired, I will tic more. If I have had too much caffeine, I will tic more. If I've had too much sugar, I will tic more. Talking about it a lot of times makes it worse. And that's something that like every Tourette sufferer pretty much has said. Thinking about it, talking about it, you always start ticking, which almost seems forced, and so it's very weird. Considering all of that, some days that means I may only have a few little tiny episodes. There are days where I don't notice that I'm doing it as often as I am, and other people around me will be like, whoa, you're ticking a lot. There are days where I do notice that I am, and it is really frustrating and really exhausting. My tics are really not that bad, honestly, compared to, I guess it's all relative, but compared to some of the stories I've read and some of the people who suffer from Tourette's, mine is nothing. There are people certainly that have very, very, so minor that they don't even know they have it. And basically the scale can be anywhere from someone who just blinks funny to people that the most common portrayal of Tourette's is, you know, the people that have outbursts, particularly swear words, inappropriate words, things like that. And then physically, people that will inflict pain on themselves, put themselves in danger. And mine is not like that. I do have both vocal and physical tics. My vocal tic is just clearing my throat, basically, which isn't terrible. I've never said words or anything like that. Sometimes though, with the throat clearing, it can get so bad that I lose my voice, that my throat is just burning for days and I can't stop. Sometimes I'll get into episodes where I am doing it so aggressively so many times and I can't like fulfill the tic, I guess is the best way to explain it, and I will end up causing myself to basically throw up. It's frustrating because I'll be trying to tell a story or communicate with someone and I can't stop doing it, and I know it's gotta be frustrating for them also. My physical tics vary. Normally I'll go through phases. I'll have like unique tics that last for a certain period of time, or ones that like I'll have for a while and then they'll go away and then they'll come back. The one that I've had for probably 15 years and kind of how it all started was just this little, I don't want to shake this whole thing, you'll see it, but it was kind of just started like a little weird shoulder chill. This was mid to late teens, I suppose. Everybody noticed it, but we just sort of called it like the little thing I do, my little weird chill thing. I don't know, and all I know is that the urge would start like at the base of my skull, I guess, and it would just be a sensation that I like had to get rid of. Kind of surprisingly, weirdly, how almost all Tourette's people explain it. It's like an urge right there, that bundle of nerves that you have to satisfy. And so that's how it began, and then it slowly has gotten worse over the years, which can be a little unique. My understanding is most Tourette sufferers, it's kind of the opposite. As they age, it can completely disappear. A lot of times, specifically in children that have Tourette's as kids, for a lot of them it will greatly decrease or completely go away as they enter into like their mid to late teens. So the fact that mine started then was a pretty good indication that it wasn't going anywhere. That right there. So that's another, how convenient. That's another thing. So almost every time now it affects all of my facial muscles, which can make for some really hilarious faces. You will see. My neck and shoulders. Unfortunately, that means I almost always have neck and shoulder pain because it's like my muscles are convulsing potentially hundreds of times a day and in weird ways. My hands, we call them like my jazz fingers, or I think my sister called them my Michael Jackson hands for a while, because they would like shoot out sometimes. It can be dangerous. They'll shoot out sometimes, they'll cramp up, they'll just shake like crazy, and then it can occasionally travel from like my head to my toes, and my feet will fling out or they'll stomp a bunch. I've kicked so many poor people. For a while I was smacking my own butt in public. That was probably my funniest tic, my most awkward tic also. I think with all of these, the complaints that I have, just the muscle fatigue that I feel. It's also a great muscle workout, I think, probably. It's very exhausting some days. I have to be careful about what I'm carrying when I have like my hand tics, because I've thrown things, dropped things, broken things, all that kind of stuff. It also, I don't breathe. That's been probably the scariest. I don't breathe when I'm doing it. And so if it is a bad episode, if it is just an urge and I'm holding my breath, and I have blacked out on multiple occasions from just not being able to stop and inhale, people often ask like, can you control it? Since it is a feeling, and theoretically I could attempt to ignore it. Again, this is something that I think most Tourette's people agree on. You can ignore it for only so long. It is everything in your body is screaming, do this thing, do this thing, do this thing, and if you don't do it, it like consume. I don't know how to explain it. It's involuntary and voluntary at the same time. And normally if you try to ignore it for any length of time, discomfort that you feel all over just builds, and then when you finally like give into it, it's 10 times worse than if you just, this sounds so crazy. And what's really funny, when this was all starting, and for probably the first 5 years that we all just sort of ignored it until it escalated to the point that it was affecting my life. When I finally started trying to articulate, even to doctors, like neurologists, what was going on, and explaining like those specific things, like I feel it here and I can't ignore it but I can't, and like brushing my teeth makes it happen, and medical professionals even looked at me like I was crazy at first. And it was actually through my own research that I started seeing that this was all exactly parallel and like very similar to everyone else with Tourette's, like word for word. These things that I felt crazy trying to explain to people, other people had like the exact same thing going on with them. It was a huge relief, but yeah, it took a few, probably a year and a half, 2 years to actually get that like official diagnosis. For a long time it was just Tourette's-like or seizure-like symptoms, but I think everyone was reluctant to actually give it that name for some reason. It is a genetic disorder. So my sister has Tourette's also, and hers was kind of the same way. She didn't have it for a long time, absolutely no signs of it, and she didn't really start showing it until like her early 20s, and hers is not as bad, knock on wood, it will stay that way. She doesn't have any vocal tics. She just has the physical, and yeah, it's just this. But she has also kicked her leg out at people and dropped things, and she 100% has Tourette's. So somewhere genetically, perhaps it was just the perfect mixture of our parents that created it. We both have Tourette's. Genetically, that also means there is a good chance that if we had kids, they would also have Tourette's. The stigma around it is kind of dissipating or getting a bit better. Just as people learn more about it, there's been a lot of people that have also kind of put it out into the public, their experiences. I know there's other YouTubers, like live streamers and things like that, that have that have Tourette's, and have really let people see like what it's really like. You know, both the fact that it isn't necessarily what's portrayed in movies, but also that it kind of a challenge, and for some people like severely debilitating. Everyone who has Tourette's, I think, is entitled to their own feelings. Personally, I think it's hilarious. I don't care. Laugh at me all you want. I literally compiled a bunch of clips of me doing it so you can laugh. And I also don't mind, the running joke in movies or whatever. It doesn't offend me. I would rather find weird joy in it, I suppose, laugh about it, make light of it, than be offended by it. The one thing I do wish is just people becoming familiar with the whole range of Tourette's symptoms. Because mine's not on, a huge level, a huge degree where people would assume it's something that is, medically wrong with me. Mine's like just weird and funny enough that in public, people look at me like I am crazy. People will like steer away from me. People will stare me down like they think I'm having a drug reaction or something. I don't know. Especially when it gets really bad and I'm out in public, I'm very self-conscious and very aware of just like the stares and the judgment, I guess. That's always, I don't feel people like being curious or sympathetic. For whatever reason, I don't know what they think is going on with me, but it's almost always more of like a judging look. And I don't want to wear a hat that says like, I have Tourette's, although sometimes I do, because think of what I could get away with if just like, the things I could say. It's not as uncommon as you think. And there's no like clear-cut defined, this is what it is. Everyone is so different. In relationship to the animals, I imagine some people are curious, how does that affect, I don't know, how I care for them or something like that, and it doesn't. Honestly, when I'm taking care of them, be it feeding, playing, cleaning their cages, anything like that, I rarely have tics. That's something I noticed pretty early on. There are a few kind of calming, relaxing things I can do to help, and animals have always been one of them. That should be no surprise. I have strongly considered looking into getting a service animal for when I'm out in public, especially because it does calm my nerves so much and decrease my tics so much. There's a hummingbird. I have so many plants right now that are flowering, and I have seen so many hummingbirds. It makes me so happy. And bees. Anyways, now that I have talked for an enormous length of time, let's go ahead and watch just a few of the clips. I should have done a better job because there are a ton in every video, but I figure you'll get the idea from this collection. This is what happens behind the scenes in all my videos. For anybody curious, this was just a little educational video about it. We will resume your regularly scheduled fun animal videos that have hopefully very little to do with me next time.